What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We got a lot of NFL coaching news that I want to get into. Plus, we'll react to yesterday's divisional round games while looking ahead to today. Texans-Patriots underway right now. Then we got Bears-Rams going on here in a few hours. Let's start with the news from last night. Kevin Stefanski is the Falcons head coach. They have signed him to a 5-year contract. And, you know, I think the Falcons felt like if last night goes well, we're not going to let him leave the building because he had a second interview with Tennessee lined up. He had a second interview with, I believe, Miami lined up. It was one of those where it was like, if we're all on the same page here, let's just wrap this thing up, and that's exactly what they did. Because normally you would not see a head coach hiring announcement be announced during an NFL playoff game. Like that is not what the league wants. But Atlanta didn't really have a choice. They did not want him to leave without a deal because he was heading to Nashville today if that ended up happening. So I like the fit. There's been plenty of reporting that him and Matt Ryan have had extensive conversations and they see football the same way and they're on the same page and so on and so forth. So, look, I think his Cleveland tenure, when he had stability at quarterback, they were good. When Baker was playing well, they made the playoffs. When Joe Flacco off the couch just came in and was solid, they made the playoffs. Now, ironically, the Falcons don't have a for sure answer at quarterback in place. Michael Penix is coming off a torn ACL. Kirk Cousins is old, so we'll see what they do there. But long term, if they can find Kevin Stefanski, the right quarterback, I think Atlanta can be really good because I think that defense is pretty damn good, and they've got good skill talent and a good offensive line offensively as well. It's all about finding the quarterback. We'll see if they find their long-term answer this offseason or not, but I expect Atlanta to be a pretty good team moving forward, and it sounds like he's going to keep Jeff Ulbrich as the DC, which I like that move as well. Okay, so John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski are the two coaches that have come to terms with their new teams, the Giants and the Falcons, respectively. Still plenty of other fillings to come. Now, Green Bay did not open up, despite chatter throughout the week that, things could be interesting there, depending on how negotiations kind of go. And ultimately, the Packers are keeping Matt LaFleur on an extension. They expect to keep Brian Gutekunst, the general manager, as well. I do think that's the right decision, even though the last 4 years the Packers have been the 7th seed 3 times and have missed the playoffs once. Who's an upgrade from Matt LaFleur in this coaching cycle? There could be someone, but there's no one out there that for sure checks that box. So to me, you keep it going. You got a pretty good thing going with him and Jordan Love. So we'll see long term, obviously, if it pays off. But I do think keeping these guys for now was the right decision. Now, they might lose their defensive coordinator. In fact, I would say it's more likely than not that Jeff Hafley is going to land one of these openings. It sounds like there's a lot of momentum in Miami, which makes sense. John Eric Sullivan is their new general manager. He comes from Green Bay. I will say this caught my attention, this report from Jordan Schultz on Twitter. This is what he had to say about Jeff Hafley. He said, Jeff Hafley, I'm told, is a likely finalist everywhere he's interviewed, including the Titans, Dolphins, Raiders, Steelers, Cardinals, and Browns. It's literally 6 jobs, should he choose to proceed with all 6. Look, I think Jeff Hafley is a good coach. I've been impressed with what he's done in Green Bay since he got there. He's got head coaching experience at Boston College. I'm not saying he's not a good candidate, but he's a finalist everywhere? Like, is this guy like the greatest interviewer of all time? I feel like I'm missing something here. Like, I get him being in the mix for a few of these jobs. I'm not saying he's not worthy of being a head coach, but, like, it sounds like he might have his pick of the litter. It's like, really? Like, he's that highly regarded? He must be really good in the interview room. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of because there's guys who have been around longer that don't get viewed this way. So it's interesting to me, but it certainly sounds like he's going to be gone. I think Miami makes a lot of sense just given that connection, but we'll see where it ultimately ends up going. Who is the best head coach candidate left in this cycle? Obviously, John Harbaugh was the big name, but I want to hear from you guys. Best head coach candidate left in this cycle. Okay, so the Browns search is ramping up. Obviously, they fired Kevin Stefanski, and they have already invited 6 candidates for second interviews to come interview in person, which is kind of a lie. Usually you get to second interviews, you do like 3, maybe 4. So I don't know if you could consider these guys finalists, but 6 guys that are getting second interviews with Cleveland. Jim Schwartz, their own, the defensive coordinator. Mike McDaniel, the ex-Dolphins head coach. Todd Monken, who many expect to follow John Harbaugh to the Giants if he doesn't get a head coaching job. I don't think he's in the mix anywhere else, so it sounds like he'll either be Cleveland's head coach or the Giants' OC. We'll see. Grant Udinski, the whiz kid from Jacksonville, 30 years old, their OC. Sounds like his virtual interview, by the way, went really well. Jesse Minter, the Chargers DC, and then Nate Scheelhaase, the pass game coordinator for the Rams, who has garnered some attention as well. He's considered a future head coach in this league. Whether or not it's this cycle, we'll see. I think in a perfect world, if you're the Browns, you go offense and you keep Jim Schwartz. I would not mind them taking the chance on a Grant Udinski or a Nathan Scheelhaase. And then if you can keep Jim Schwartz, it's kind of perfect, right? You have a guy who's been a head coach before in Schwartz, a good defensive mind who knows the pulse of the current team and can help along this young head coach. Now, Schwartz could throw the middle finger up and say, screw you, I'm going elsewhere, I suppose. But it could depend on a contract. If the new head coach wants him, there's a lot of factors there. But he certainly wants the head coaching job, I'm sure. But I would like to see Cleveland hire one of these offensive guys. I think it'd be really entertaining. Mike McDaniel, I think, would be an interesting one. Now, there's been that report out there that if he's not sold on a head coach offer, he might just take one of these high-end OC jobs. He interviews with the Chargers. I think he's either already has or will interview with the Eagles. He's interviewed with Detroit. So a lot of these top OC gigs that are open, he's going to basically have his choice, it seems like. So we'll see what he ends up doing. But Cleveland is clearly casting a wide net still, and I think they're trying to thread that needle where they can keep Jim Schwartz while hiring someone else. So ultimately, time will tell on if they're able to pull that off. Interesting name back in the mix for the Steelers, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But first, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. Awesome new feature with Prize Picks. They now have early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. The way you play is simple. You pick more or less on stat projections, passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards on 2 to 6 player lineups, and if you hit, you win money. I got a 3-player lineup for the game tonight. More on Caleb Williams passing yards, more on Colston Loveland receiving yards. I also got more on Puka Nacua, half a touchdown. I think he scores at least once. $20 lineup to win $85 with Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Okay, Mike McCarthy. Could he be the Mike Tomlin replacement in Pittsburgh? The Steelers are set to interview McCarthy. He is a Pittsburgh native, grew up there. His dad owned a restaurant there. He loves the city of Pittsburgh. So certainly interesting. I think certainly worthwhile of an interview. And he'd be the first offensive guy they've ever had in the modern era as their head coach. Adam Schefter had the news here that they're going to speak with McCarthy. Another interesting connect here is Omar Khan was in New Orleans in 2000 when McCarthy was their offensive coordinator. So they go back as well. And the Aaron Rodgers angle here is interesting because it was reported today that Steelers players told Steelers executives in their exit interviews, hey, we would like Rodgers to come back. Now, Rappaport initially reported that it's unlikely that he would come back now that Mike Tomlin's out of the window. Also, retirement could be on the table for Rodgers, so there's a lot of factors there. But him and McCarthy have patched up their relationship since kind of an ugly exit in Green Bay. There's a lot of mutual respect there. They obviously had a lot of success together in Green Bay. It would be pretty interesting if they had one final ride together. Like if McCarthy got the job, hey, Aaron, come back one more year, stabilize the position for 2026 while we try to figure out who our long-term solution is. So that would certainly be interesting. Now, McCarthy's not a young guy. He's like 62, 63. So this is not like a 15-year option if you make him your coach. But, 5-7 years if it goes well, then turn the page to someone else. So we'll see what Pittsburgh ends up doing. Historically, they hire younger guys and keep them forever. I mean, that's kind of been their style, but it's an interesting cycle with some relatively unproven young guys and then some veteran guys who are what I would call good, not great. Like, I think McCarthy's good. I don't know if he's great, but you can do a lot worse than good, right? I think Mike McCarthy would be a good hire for Pittsburgh or, quite frankly, for anyone else. It'd be a great hire for a team like Tennessee. So he's in the mix in a couple of jobs, and it would be fascinating if him and Aaron Rodgers ran it back together one more time. Who should the Steelers hire? Who do you guys think Pittsburgh should bring in as their next head coach? I'd like to see them go offense for the first time ever, but that remains to be seen. Okay, we'll get out of here on some divisional round reaction. Kind of a tale of two games yesterday, right? I had an instant classic in Denver, and then not so much up in Seattle. Let's start with the Denver-Buffalo game as the Broncos prevail 33-30 in overtime. And just the emotions, the highs, the lows for both teams throughout the game. Afterwards, Josh Allen's in tears at the podium. Deion Dawkins, when he was told that Allen made the statement that he felt like he let his team down, which he's not wrong. He had 4 turnovers. Like, that's a lot to overcome. You've got all that going on. The officiating down the stretch where throughout the entire game they're not blowing whistles, throwing flags. All of a sudden, flags are flying everywhere. Denver prevails. Crowds go. All craziness is happening throughout the end of that game and the post-game celebration, the takes online, and then Sean Payton walks to the podium and says, "Not good news, everybody. Bo Nix, our quarterback, has a fractured ankle. He will have surgery on Tuesday. His season's over." I mean, what an emotional drainage. If you're a Broncos fan, this guy who's been clutch all year in the fourth quarter, making play after play, I thought he was big time down the stretch yesterday, and he's just done. And now Jarrett Stidham gets the ball, and he has not played in a meaningful game really in a long time, has not made a start since 2023 with the Raiders. So this is going to be really interesting. Can Jarrett Stidham just be a kind of a game manager and lean on that defense? They're obviously going to get the winner of Houston and New England. If you draw Houston, you kind of take your chances in just kind of a defensive slugfest up in Mile High. But that is a devastating emotional blow. Now, the one upside for Denver is they did play on Saturday, so you kind of get today to kind of just, take a breath, take it all in, and then tomorrow kind of hit the ground running on the game prep. But that is a fascinating angle. The last quarterback to make his first start in a season in a conference championship game, Roger Staubach, back in the 70s for the Dallas Cowboys, and they lost to Washington 26-3 in the NFC Championship game. So we'll see if Jarrett Stidham's up to the task. He's played a decent amount of ball in the NFL, but he's a backup. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And for Buffalo, you just wonder, like, if not now, when? As long as Josh Allen's there, they're going to have a chance every year, but it's just a devastating loss. It really is. In a year where it was wide open, that's going to be a tough one to get over, which is something Josh said himself. Okay, the other game, not close. Seahawks 41, 49ers 6. It's kind of funny that the Seahawks took the opening kickoff back to take a 7-0 lead, and that was enough to win the game in the end. The 49ers only had 6 points. Seattle's defense was dominant. I mean, even their offense, I know they scored 41 points. They just had so many short fields. I mean, the Niners are turning it over on downs. They're throwing picks. They're fumbling. It just unraveled on San Francisco. And let's be honest, they maxed out as a team. I mean, the 49ers to just make the playoffs, much less win 12 games and win a playoff game on the road with how many injuries they've had, pretty damn good job by Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh. I will say this, moving forward, Mike McDaniel has the answers for Shanahan's defense. 5 straight games now. When he was in Baltimore, if you remember that Christmas Eve game a few years ago, he dominated the 49ers and Shanahan in that game. And then in all 4 games since he's been Seattle's head coach, Seattle, I believe, is 3-1, and they've only given up like an average like 10 points a game. It's been a rough go. Even week 1 this year when Seattle won, they held San Francisco to 17 points. So Shanahan's got to figure that out because the Seahawks are not going anywhere moving forward. That's going to be a team they're going to have to get past not only in the division, but potentially in the playoffs if they want to win a Super Bowl. So some questions for San Francisco this offseason. Got to get healthy, got to make some additions. And then Seattle, they now await the winner of Chicago and Los Angeles, who they will host at home next week. Speaking of which, Texans-Patriots is underway. The Patriots lead the Texans, as I'm filming this, 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. Texans are in the red zone. And then the Rams and the Bears will kick off at 5:30 at Soldier Field. So we will obviously keep tabs on that as well. If you are a Bears fan, I'll be live on our Bears channel, so come check that out. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of 4 Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We will be back tomorrow with another episode. Dropped a mock draft on the channel yesterday. If you want to go check that out, just subscribe, go to the content tab. It'll be right there. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.